yangu imimana yesabi yachepelwamo
mwatendeka okumva kuri program iyesabi ngechakulya chakuchimfisha kwensala elyo nemidile isuma abampekanisishako niba Fish for Food pamona wa Food and Nutrition Enhanced Resilience Fansa ama project ayangalilwa nakabungwe ka GIZ mukutungililwa nechiputulwa cha buteko bwa German icha Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. Kabili bale bombela pamona ba National Food and Nutrition Commission, Department of Fisheries, nenchenshi shimbi. Kutikeni kuli ayama sambililo ayachindama alechitwa apafye pamela basa iyalekanalekana muno Luapula. Ibukisheni ukuchimfye nsala mulimo wenu.
Pantu mubulimi bwesabi mwaba ichuma Tine mubulimi bwesabi mwaba ichuma. Mwahiseni wakomfo wesu kuli programu yesu ya Fish for Food Security in Zambia radio show. Ilelo mkwai tuli neliashi ilirela ndapali nutrition value of fish ekutira obusuma tusanga mukuli esabi neo twala bana imwana lelo line ne Kunda Londa lelo ma studio na tukwata ba mama Chipepo piri ba junior advisor Fish for Food Security in Zambia project ele ba mama Mwangala Kabika junior advisor Fish for Food Security in Zambia project na tukwata pamwela ba Dr. Pamela Marinda ekutira ba senior lecturer Department of Food Science and Nutrition School of Agricultural Sciences kufuma ku University of Zambia na tukwata na ba F.Chalula ba provincial nutritionist ukufuma kuno kwine kumansa internship kwa ile keni mama Chipepo kuti mwaposha ba konfoweso
amwaisen bonse mkwai
mama Mwangala Kabika na imwe kuti mwaposha ba konfwa
mtatela mwaisen mkwai.
Dr. Pamela Marinda, you can greet our listeners.
Good morning, listeners.
Ba F.Chalula na imwe mkwai kuti mwaposha ba konfwa.
Kuku mkwai mutende bonse mkwai.
Twatashanganshi kwati fintu mumfuire ba Dr. Pamela Marinda bakula landa na ifwe muchingereshi twakulaisha mkwai ukwalula mu Cibemba bantu tabayishibishe Cibemba balishiba kupano nomba taba tetibalande bwino mu Cibemba namukukana po senshita Yesu mkwai twalafu atuipushe ichipusho twala imika ilio tulera ndapali program ya kutira nutritional value of fish mu Cibemba kuti twatira ubukankala nangulo obusuma bwaba mukulya isabi bushe ngatwatira nutrition nishitule pilibula chinshi F.Chalula
na totera sana kuri ba Kunda wesu elo futi punch time ine na totera na kuba nandi bonse bo tulina bena pano papaneo na ba Dr. Marinda bena bali kurusaka na ngutabale mvu Cibemba. We are grateful that actually could join us from Lusaka. So yes, so maybe in trying to define nutrition I'll try to define it in Bemba pakwa tibalabale kutukitika bonse kuti bakonkana bwino pamonga mukachira katondo ngatwa lolekesha peshi ile tila nutrition mukwa ilishu ilimo ile lolesha pafi yakulya ilo fine fyakulya fintu tufilima fintu tufisunga ilo nefe twafipika ili nero twafibika mukano twambo kufidia tuleshetrula ya twafishetrula mkwai umubiri wali kwatenshila imo ubomfesha mu fyakulya vile fide kabira mu mubiri firashara mu mubiri ero na fidia fide kabira mu mubiri mkwai firafuma pamongo obusali efe twingatira mu Cibemba chesu kutira ngatwefo kulondolola shibili nutrition efe twingalondolola mkwai
mkwai F.Chalula wesu ilingirine abantu balalanda pakulya fyakumanina mu Chingereshi balanda kuti balanced diet chinshi chachindamino kuti abantu balelya fyakumanina
okay ngabatila okulya fyakumanina atemu fyapimwa bwino mu Chingereshi batila balanced diet mkwai umubiri uko nganefyolesa au panga ula kwata okukabira efyakulya ebyapusana era efyakulya fyaliwo emitundu yalekanalekana napakwe bati omuntu akule owabuumi bwino kirakabirwa kwe bati omuntu ali efyakulya ku mitundu yonse iyo abafikukira ensako bapima tulero kushapa fyakulya fikosha omubiri fitupera amaka efyakulya mkwai fikusha omubiri ero punch time yene efyakulya fituchingira ku malwere elio abasambira sana pamonga wa Dr. Marinda baramye bakwe bati kwali bafebeta tama food groups efyakulya efya bali fibika pamonga mitundu yalekanalekana ne chena nimukumono kwe bati twafwaye enshira ya kufwaya okusungirira obumi pakwe bati umubiri nga chakwati umuntu leli efyakulya tufire twali efyakulya efya mitundu yalekanalekana pantu umubiri ulakabira efyakulya efyalekanalekana era futi nokukongana nemishingo kwali abantu abakalamba abana abanono banachifyashi abali pabukulu banachifyashi abali onsha nabo bene mkwai munshila imoine so balance diet ira twafirishako kutuchingirira kumalwele ero punch time ine nokutsungirira obumi bwino
mkwai ngatwatira balanced diet ngefefine mwalondolola bwino F.Chalula wesu nomba kuti abantu bakwanisha shani ukukwata balanced diet
ife abantu bengakwanisha balanced diet ni munshile shalekanalekana ukupitira mu bulimi bwa filimu efyalekanalekana efinsabwa pitira mu butekeshi bwesabi ukongana nesambiro tulipo so abantu kuti bakwata okukwanisha balanced diet nechilekabiro chakumono kwe bati abantu bakwata po bwishibiro bantu chintu chimwe kukwata efyakulya mukati akanganda ero futi naline abantu balakabiro ko bati bakwata okwishiba bushe efyakulya efitu nafibika mumusango shani pakwa at least fyatwafirisha papa mongolo pwa ero punch time ine abantu kuti bakwanisha nabena ngakati nabeshwe fyakubomfya indala mabala abako bati tabalima nabena kuti bakwata enshira yo benga kwatiramo efyakulya
yakufimwena
benga fimwena ngana bakwata indala manaliena kukwata indala matekantu naliena chikankara makamaka chakumono kwa bati namukwata ubwishibiro efyo mwinga
namwishibe efyakulya
efyakulya ba Dr. Marinda ndesubira babwela emkwaye ba doctor.
Okay, sorry. So saying that a balanced diet, in very simple terms, is simply a diet that contains different kinds of foods and in certain quantities, and so it has to contain proteins, minerals, vitamins, and calories. But then maybe in a layman's language, I heard Mr. F.Chalula talk about food groups. So for someone to understand this, maybe in very simple way, is when you consider the different food groups that someone has to consume food from. So you must ensure that you have staple food. So this is the grains, cereals, food that contain grains, cereals. So for example, shima, rice, noodles. So that is one food group. And then you have also to consume foods that are flesh, the flesh foods. That is a different group, the flesh foods. And for the flesh foods, we have meat. So we have the red meat from cow or goat. We have chicken, then we have fish in there. And then we have also to consume eggs. So eggs are another food group. And then we have dairy products as a food group. And then we have dark green vegetables as a food group. We also have other vegetables which don't fall within the dark green vegetables. So for the dark green vegetables, we can consider vegetables like grape, which we actually have in plenty in Zambia. We have guava, we have atapa, for example. And then, yes, and then the other vegetables are those that are not dark green in color. So we can consider vegetables like cabbage, for example, tomatoes and onions. And then have vitamin A rich fruit. Yeah, and vegetables, so that's also a different food group. And then so vitamin A rich fruit, and then we can have vitamin A rich vegetables. So all those are 10 food groups that women of reproductive age must consume. But for the general public, when they consider a balanced diet, they should just think of consuming foods from the different food groups that I've mentioned.
Okay, and Subira, I think you've touched on so many things, and I was even thinking at maybe a doctor, she has forgotten that maybe she's thinking she's in the lecture theater. So, Mr. Kunda, I think we need to find time to be able to interpret.
To translate,
or maybe I can just make a comment. I think Pafe Balanda doctor twatotela sana, for that lengthy and useful explanation that you have given, I think, on the 10 food groups. So but Dr. F.Chalula mwebale kutika komkwa hii bachiraisho kulondolola pamitundu ya fyakulya ili 10 umusangwa fyakulya fyalekanalekana na kuba kuno kulwapula na munche ndeshalekana kwalibe fyakulya efyo tulya sana efyo batira tama staples mulya musangwa fyapala wati ubwali okufuma ku mataba na ku kuli tute ero futi balumbula n'emitundu ya misalu iyalekanalekana misalu na yena ni lekaleka ero futi basabika pono omutundu na ombi mule musangwe na mesha lekanalekana ero na fimbipo fyonse finga twafibika pamo efinga twafirishako gukwate echo baletira balance diet atemwa ifyakulya ifyapimwa wino ifinga twafirishako gukwata ubumi busuma efyo kwena ba Dr. Bachilaba kolobonda ero bachilondora mu Chingereshi kutinga Londa I think mukusubawira fe kwati kubantu
mkwai ni ifyo fine fyamfuika lero ndimbi kuti twalonda po na bukankala bwakwate fifya kulya makamaka kuli banyinefu yabali pabukulu. To the doctor, my question is, why are these foods important to pregnant women?
Okay, so what I can say is that pregnancy period is a very important period, both for the mother and for the unborn child. And pregnancy, that is when the fetus is developing in the mother's womb, and therefore adequate nutrition during this period is very important for proper growth and development of the fetus. And so the mother also shouldn't, if they consume adequate both macronutrients and micronutrients, they are likely to suffer from any micronutrient deficiency such as anemia. So it's very important for mothers to consume a balanced diet and, in other words, foods from these different food groups for them to have a healthy pregnancy. And of course, they also have to ensure that they're healthy throughout their pregnancy period. Over.
Mkwaiba Dr. Balondora okuti fifyakulya fyalichinda masana kuli banyinefu abali pabukulute banyinefu efyebeka na olya wini omwana ukala fyalwa pamulandu wakutinga chakuti baledi efyakulya bachilanda po pamulu ninshi n'omwana ukafyalwa akafyalwa owabumi busuma. Program yesu doctor, our program is mostly talking about fish for food. So maybe I can bring you to this question.
Yes.
Do different fish species have a difference in nutritional value? Bushe isabi ili apusana lyalikwata mo ifilyo ifyapusana kumubiri wa muntu.
Okay, so I think I can start by saying that fish is one of the healthiest foods that we have in Zambia and of course on the continent, and it has very many important nutrients. Probably Mr. Chalula already mentioned some of the nutrients. Okay, so we have protein, essential fatty acids, vitamins, iodine, and so on. But then back to your question on whether the different fish species have different nutritional value. So the answer is yes. So not all fish have the same nutrient value. So you might find some differences in let's say ion composition of from one species to the other. For example, carpenter or generally small fish, Chisenze, carpenter, that is commonly found maybe in Luapula area, Mpulungu, and maybe parts of Kariba. But even these small fishes are widely sold in Zambia. They are very rich in many minerals as well as in protein. So you see that a fish has high contents of iron, zinc, and calcium compared to the large fish. So maybe I can allow you to translate, and then I can move on to the next difference, probably.
Okay. Ukonkane fo ba doctor bakolobonda barondorola busaka sana ba doctor twatotera sana bakolondola kontumule londorola balando ko bati imitundu ya yesabe yali pusana so firafine fo bantu moneka ba pusana mumonekele elio na mu mitundu efona nesabiri ne lyaba even ngatwalokisha kwati kumulio na wena wali bo wapusana ukonkana nesabi elio konkana efyo chaishibikwa ko bati lesabiri batira ati small fish katemwanga kapenta chisense ilia fie ukwabulo kuposa kone nangukamo tatupalako tatufunyako nemyunga tuilia fie litunturu ati ho muchingereshi chile tuloko
tuito kuti itanambwa panto tuliafie
itanambwa exactly so ilianga tuwalia itanambwa ilia chile tuloko bati na tulia ifya kulia umulio uapwiririka bwino panto tatuposa kwa efili fyonse so muli uli amusango ninshi kwena mibili nishira kwa tokusekera musana sana.
Yeah, and maybe just to add, we also have fish also contains essential fatty acids, which are very important for the brain development, and studies have shown that the essential fatty acids can help reduce the risk. They kind of lower the risk of heart attack, strokes, and death from heart disease. So if someone consumes at least 1 to 2 servings of fish every week, studies have shown that they're likely to lower their risk of getting a heart attack or stroke. But this has to be for a prolonged period of time, not just eating it once or twice, but like doing it frequently. And for women, pregnant women and children under the age of 5, this that is rich in essential fatty acid. It's very important even for the brain development of the child. So that's why we encourage a lot of mothers who are pregnant to consume healthy foods, including fish.
Okay. So twatotera sana na pabulondoroshi na vumbi untu balondora ba doctor. Balondora ko bati mwisabirine umuri na umbi usangwa mo nifira batira muchingereshu ko bati protein atemu afire ifikushwa mubiri ero punch time ine mulasangwa na afiria ifyo afirishako ubongo bongo ukukosa makamaka mubana abanono ero futi balondora no kwebe bati ididi nesabe ngeta twalidya umuli ombi ulafirishako kutuchingirira ko kumalwele aya palang imitima kula kulunkunta sana ero punch time ine yalafirishako no kuchefyanyako infwa mu bantu. So if you bachila kolobonda makamaka kuli balaba na chifyasha bakwati bali pabukulu chila afirisha ko sana pantu na chifyashi uli pabukulu chile piulo ko bati ulia fya kukabira fyako ifya kulia ni chinafi chitana nikarafu ngatira nafi chitadabo pantu muli umwana mmala olekula ero uli umwana olekula mmala naina alefu aika ifya kulia ifya mitundu yale kana pako bati umwana akwatokula bwino na chifyashi wine pantu ana chifyashi ingine bamo balasangwa na finga balengo ko bati basangwa nemitima ibulelwa mitima limbi umulopa ule butukisha filia so fyonse finga chakwati bali sabi makamaka not ukuli afye sabi mukumuko ngalifazira na kula lia mute ukonkanya ifikuti fyatu afuirisha ko kuchingirira amalwele aya mitima ero futi no mulopa kula butukisha sana mukataka mibirishesu
twatotera nganshipali obulondoreshi abateke esabi makamaka na muno mwine mu Luapula abengi bateke esabirira iri amatuku kutira linono ushikuti twatira na yeri sabi kutira lingana mufidio ukulingana na bakapenta bachisense bantu nalyo linono iri amatuku the common species we have in Luapula.
Doctor, would you like to make a comment on that?
So I had something on Matuku.
Yes.
And I'm not too sure what
okay, the question is.
Yeah, I think it's just trying to to say, because we've talked about small fish actually being more nutritious, and then he was also trying to say, okay, there are people, for example, might want to go into fish farming, right?
Yes.
Rearing matuku. And can it be compared to the other species in terms of nutritional value?
Okay, so I just started with the small fish, but we have the large fish. So, for example, we have the tiger fish, we have imbilia, we have buka fish. So, actually, studies have also shown that, for example, imbilia has a higher folate than a bubu fish. And then buka fish is also very high in niacin, which is important, micronutrient that is important for the body. And matuku is tilapia, it's also rich in niacin, folate as well as vitamin B12. But of course, compared to the other fish, it's a little bit lower in terms of those different nutrients that I've mentioned. Imboa has high folate. Okay, imboa has high folate compared to matuku, and imbilia also has a high folate compared to matuku. Yeah. So, but then I think in a rural setting, people can tend to consume different types of fish. So we cannot just insist that they consume one type of fish. So they can just keep varying the type of fish that they're consuming, and then they'll be able to get the different nutrients from the different fish instead of just relying on one type of fish.
Okay, so balondolo kwebati kwena obupusano kutibwa abapo ba pamulio makamaka kwati filifilofu twachilondolo lapo so chilekabila makamaka chakumono kwebati munchende muntu abantu bali bafwaya I think ngabalefo kwishibira pona fimbi kuti batemo kwebati basamona abantu twaba kukwata ku balondolo lapo pantunga chakwati mwalolekesha mwali ba umulio wapala kwati ya ma vitamins and bachilondolo lapo so if mitundu yesabi alibe apusana yo namupusana kwa mitundu yesabi if you know umulio na wena waba pusana but ukonga nefe bachilanda I think isabi ntuwa kwata kuno filanga mwa kwati Luapula kula sangwa Luapula imbilia exactly imbilia erofuti na matuku edio imboa ne mitundu fina imbilia pusana erofuti bachilanda pona mbishi wilimo na chitafu aya sana okulondorola kwa bantu beso bachitiro kwebati isabi it is one of the safest source of animal protein erofuti batira no utirati high quality animal protein chile pirulo ko bati dia alikwata fyo batira tama essential amino acids ya yakobati ngamwalia ngamwalia mubiri ulasekeramo ero punch time ine isabi nshatara mfapo I think ama loele ayenge aseka sana kupitira mkulia kwa isabi kwena tetwengalanda pono kulanda po chile pirulo ko bati isabi fie tufire twakwata okoseresha abantu ko bati enshirafe imo otwingasangiramo ubumi ubwafumaluka makamaka kubana bali abalekula batlanda pa essential amino acid bongo wabana mu classroom pakwati umwana alesambira bwino chikankalo kumono ko bati umwana ali efyakulya nefyakulya fintu afiro kulya mkwayi tafile fyachira pesa bi nefyakulya na fimbi mkwayi
twatashanga nshimkwayi bakomfa wese mwe bale tukonkanga munshira ino ni program ya Fish for Food umo mkwaye tukwate nchenshi kufuma kwa lekana okobesa mukula tulondorwerako tekuteka fye kwesabi lero nefyo twingabo mfyesa binga fintu muleo mfoire lero tulelanda pa busuma bwa kulya isabi ngachakutina mkwata ifi pusho ne filifyonse fya kulandapo kuti mwa tulembero tuma text kulya ya manambala 0777 183 067 183 elio kabiri 0777 183 093 0777 183 093 ayema nambala mwingabo mfya ukulanda pona ngulo kuipushe fipusho filifyonse pali ino program ino nchitaleke ni twalukile kuliva mama Chipepo pili ndemo na mkwate ichipusho mwinga foyo okumfa kuliva doctor na ba F.Chalula palwa imi pikire nangula imi bomfeshe ya isabi.
Okay. Ponch la twadi lani kwata kona dimbidi propafia wachilondo la doctor. Dr. Marinda.
Yes.
So in your explanations, all the knowledge that you've given us right now so far, I heard you mention iron. And I don't know if I got calcium, but yes, I know there's calcium in the fish bones and all that. Why is this important?
Okay, so can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Yes, so calcium actually is found in fish that is eaten whole. That is, here in Zambia, we eat the small fish whole, that is with the head and the bones. So like Chisenze and Carpenter, we kind of eat it whole. But I've seen some people removing the head and throwing it away. So actually, you eat it whole, then you're getting more nutrients from the fish than when you throw away parts of the fish. Let's say the head. So fish is very rich in calcium, especially fish that is eaten whole. And calcium, as we may already know, helps in bone formation. And it's also very important for the normal functioning of the body. And as I mentioned earlier also, small fish also is very rich in iron. And that is not to say that the other types of fish do not have iron. I'm just saying small fish has higher iron content compared to the other fish. And this is according to studies that have been done here in Zambia. So fish species were collected from Zambia and analysis was done on the edible portions, and we found that iron content in the small fish was much higher than in the large fish. And iron normally helps in transporting oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. And iron normally forms part of the hemoglobin. So, for example, for the pregnant women, this is very important for them. Because iron will enable them, when they have adequate amounts of foods that have iron, then they will not suffer from iron deficiency, anemia, for example. And also iron also forms part of the other proteins and enzymes that are important for the normal functioning of the body.
Okay, balondoro lefingi sana futi palia. Ichile pilulwa kwe bati, nero tulelo le shapesa biline. Musanga untu tulelira mwesabi kuti kwalengo kwe bati twasekelamo atemo limbi twakano ku senda mo umulyo wa fumaluka atemo wapulirika bwino ilyo tuleli esabirya ili nono atemo akachisense kapenta tulalidi afyo kwa bulo kuposa but nalimo nabantu bamukonga nefatsalondora balaposa mo ile emitwe chilepirwa kwe bati ngamuwaposa fila munga muleposa fila nishimulefyo muleposa no mulyo na fingi mwaposa ero punch time moyine barondorola pamuli ombi usanga muri mwisabi batira iron mukuchirondorola fecha ko bata abantu besu komkane bwino mukwai ni omulyo utupela omulopa elionga chako bati mwalolekesha bana chifya shiringiri nenga bali pabukulu kula bafira fine baleya kuchipatala mukubachecheta mukupimwa eficho bichibatira antinento so kula kwa antinento kula bano kubapela ko tubulungwa tuli abatuntu bali so tuli tubulungwa tuli atuntu bali atuliyanga chako bali lyesabi etusangwa muisabi ero barando ko bati isabi leswija mu mutundu wa Luapula tema mu Zambia chali sangwa ko bati ukupitira mu masambiro bali abafu kukirenza ko bali sangwa ko bati isabiri esuli alikwatisha sana yine iron into tulela ndaponga twatila iron mwe bantu bakwalesa tulela ndafe pamulopa ikintu kitwafirishako kifuma kwisabi ikitupera umulopa so ififyonse finga chakwa twafibika pamo tichatuafirishako sana pantu yine iron mkwaye twafirishako nokupisha ulia umwela untu tupema ulia umwela ufwaikwa mufi putulwa ifya mubiri ifya lekana so iron tulela ndapo mkwaye kufuma kwisabi chintu chimwe mkwaye chikankala sana
hawa tulasambirira sana
ya edo futi na banji bukishako fe ba Chipepo kwe bati bachilondorola po mkwaye atemwa chintu china chimbi chisangwa sana mwisabi nichirya tutira ati calcium mkwai mu Cibemba nchishofo ninga chilondora chikwete shibiri akulondora bati ifo twinga chishibira kofe mkwai inga twalolesha ameno ifo yamoneka twalolesha amafupa fyonze fira pako bati fikose ameno yakose amafupa yakose pako bati filefisangwa mukataka mibiri yesu fichingiriro bwino ni mpamulandu wayo ine calcium ne calcium isangwa mu isabi lilyo tuli afye ili tuntulu kwa bulo kuposa monero chimo ili nginga mwamonesa bingani ili kululilya tulalipa
twalile pula
pakati ilo futi kwa bano kufunyamo fimono kuposa ilo ya tulelya ili ngirine imyunga
tuleposelembwa
fira tuleposelembwa nchembwa eshilese
ya oto asambirira mwandi
ilo makamanga kuba nabanono bachiri balekula balya calcium atemo ine tulelondro lapo kufuma ku isabi chilafuirisha sana ukukosha amafupa elio nokukula kwa bana abanono
twatashanga nshima Chipepo mwachikwata na chimbi chipusho ili tamulaisa mama mwangala mwachirafu okulundapo
nachafu afonkulipusha balanda pali calcium nomba bayabaletira ati abana kuti bajashana amabonzi ya
amafupa yesabi nangu imyunga yesabi
ingingiro mayando matwakula twalimona ati abana tatubapere esabi emkwai tubapera fyo muto wesabi emkwai nomba kuti bajashani
maybe limba Marinda kuti barunda but echo ningate mukulanda po chakwe bati fifini batira kuchilonga pasta ngari kuntanja leshimikira limbi afika pali point ile yakwe bati kwena idefika panshi ya mitima y'abantu barando ko bati koko
lapo
abana elingirine ubumi bw'abana bwaba mufi w'abafyashi balebarisha bwaba mubwishibiro umufyashi ngayishiba ni shikuti mwakwato kusunga abana beno bwino umwana te wakupera supu yeka yo umwana kumupekanisha kona yena mumusango umo oengalira mu firafindu
emkwaye
ukongana no nemishinku y'abana yapusana ama different age groups turakoseresha abana abanono ngakubula iranga ni chisense ati mwakapenda kuti mwata chinshi mwatwa liranga mwatwa fidia yaba kwati bunga fidia ida kuti mwalunga munanika muri musunga atemwa na mufya kuna fimbi muri ilyanshira ni chumwana na utata chinshi
ale yafinefyo ale kabira kumubiri
exactly so munshila imo ine chide kabiro chako munoko bati bali abana bako bati barafika bamushingu wako bati maybe uti basheta bayirira bene tufuaye nshira iyaku twafira fintu no kulunga muri mumusunga bako bati timbi abana na bene uti batachenshi kuti bakwata okusekeramo I think ndemo nabamwangala limbi efo twinga suka
yefe twinga londolola awe na mulondolola fye bwino sana kuli neri pusho na limbi na tukwate esabi nomba mama Chipepo kuti mwaipusha
okay mkwai twatotera pa fye mwalondolola bwino sana F.Chalula mukulundapo ifye mwalanda pesa binomba mwaranda pakulitwa kubikira mumba na mfyakulya fyabo nomba nga twaisa kuipika shekwa liwe mipikire yako yati nga twaipika mli twaipika twabomvi twaocha na ngula twali boila yala tupera ifimulondolo ila makaosha mama ayo ama nutrients batile yala tupera ifingi nga twaocha na twaipika kwali bokusala awe nga mwachitefi tamwa kwate fyonse fili muisabi na nga mwabomfya imipikire mwala kwata fyonse just for Dr. Marinda let me say it in English, either of you can answer. Is there a way of processing or cooking fish that will give you the full benefits of the nutrients that are in fish?
Okay, they have talked about food processing, how does it affect and stuff like that. Okay, for ningarondo lako fya kwebati kuno Luapula nangontile fya hivi ni ku Northern Province kulia na ma provinces za lekana isabiri ngiri nenga twalikata tula bokuli kanika filia nga twalikanika tulalisunga munshire yalekana bambi balabomfya filia chushi
bami turakanga
kwabo kukanga
kanika fye paka suba
so liranga mwakanika ifisanga amofya kwebati liranga mwakanika esabi amenshi alaba wakati ya tachinji afumamo ero nomba ulio mulio wabakwati waba concentrated so kula bakwata ife baingatira ife twingatira concentrated actually nutrients
ekutira ni shumulio waikatana
waikatana bwino so filia tutwalando kwe bati ichile kabiro afe chako monoko bati tulefa tuishibe because isabi talikala panchite itali sana chakwati mwalika ta filafine so konkana nenche ndesha amamishi filafine aba amamishi tetu basunge isabi ngachakwati bakwete icho batira fridge ichigalengo ko bati isabi aboli aba fresh panchite itali sana so kuti bali sunga muri ulawine musango wakwati bakanika eronga lyanga bakanika umulyo nawe na tawucha chinshi taonaika konga nefuna chirondoro nishimwa kwata nomba concentrated nutrients ena mututire umulyo nishimwa utachinshi
kwatu wa
kwati
mwasunge mbala filatu tuweki mpondwa mamwa chisunge chako
exactly ipo vana chinsemwa shaliro wapo kuchira chiliye chumbu chikuru vambi kwa wati na
kuliokulowa kulia mulandu wako bati amenshi na yatachinshi yafumamo but namwe nomufumamo kwa amenshi kwaliba umulyo umo nangotutira tama water soluble vitamins if mo finga for twinga tachinshi ifinga if yona ikalire linginga chakobati nango pakusamva filanga musa rufilia tufetu aputula ulo musalu before tatola usamva first ku usamva alu twasa upota hapa panuma pantu ilingiri nekola batama ulomulyo watachinshi wasenda ulomulyo amenshi yasenda ulomulyo
so imipikire kuti chavashani pakuipika
so nemipikire ine kuti chawamisha ponga chakwe bati okay tutu achirondora muri omusango isabi abengi bare pika fie ba pika fie kwa buloku ubika mo kwa buloku sarula ba pika fina menshi bambi barafwayo kwe bati baocha ero futi mukocha kwesa binakwenda kwali ba ubusuma bwinga bapo makamaka kuli bali abanenso bakwe bati bali kwatako amalwele yamo tabale foko bati babike mu mafuta kuti baocha filafine but napakocha na pena tumona kwe bati tatuli lungwishe pano ngatwali lungusha nomba ni twarambo kula leto bwa afya na bumbi mkataka mibilishezo emkwaye shishibe ba doctor ngakuti banchongapo balunda pofena bena panono can you add doc on the processing and the cooking methods and how the nutritional value would differ?
Okay, so I heard you talk about water soluble vitamins.
Yes,
and so
yes.
I suspect you've already mentioned that sometimes there's some few losses.
Yes, I did that, yes.
Yeah, based on the cooking method that is used. But maybe what you can just add is that generally cooking does not reduce the amount of minerals in the food. So what is very sensitive are the vitamins. Yeah, like Dr. F.Chalula has already mentioned. But for the minerals, normally cooking doesn't really affect the amount of. Cooking does not reduce the amount of minerals in the fish. And when we talk about processing methods, I've been to Zambia and Chelenge and Luwingu, Northern Province, and I noticed that a lot of the methods that are used for processing fish include like sun drying, we have smoking, and then in another study we found a few people that were salting fish, although this was not very, very common. But the one thing that I would like the listeners to know is that we have vitamins that are very sensitive to heat. So when you expose your fish to the sun for prolonged periods of time, so you're likely to lose a lot of the vitamin A from that fish, for example. Yeah, so as much as I said earlier on that maybe fish has also vitamin A, like the small fish, when you expose it to the sun for prolonged periods of time, you're losing a lot of the vitamin A, and some fish has small amounts of vitamin C, so you also lose all that. Yeah, but then what I can also just say is that I think the best way of cooking the food is just ensuring that food is well cooked to kill all the microorganisms. And now I'm thinking of the pregnant mother. So we don't want the pregnant mother eating food that is not well cooked. So you cook the food long enough for it to keep all the microorganisms. So we have to think about the food safety issues here. Yeah, so and probably later on, if the moderator can give us a chance to talk about food safety, especially with regards to fish, we can maybe give some advice to the listeners on how to go about it. But very important is if you're cooking food, the food in water, don't throw away the water, because we also have the water soluble vitamins that leach into the cooking water. So, for example, the B vitamins and vitamin C, it will leach into the water. So you have to give your child the soup, but also give them some food, not just the soup.
Yeah, we have to be very, very strong on that one, because so I think ndondoro pafe ba doctor ba Londa po pafe na chirondoro lentanshi balando ko bati kwali bemisango ya putana yakwati na chirondoro lapo ya misungire yesabi panuma twaipa yesabi ya misungire bambera fo ati bakanika kukasuba chilifye bwino, but lero chota tulefa cha kumono ko ati mwakanika yesabi panchite itari kwisa kukasuba pantu mwisabi mwali bya umuri imirio atemu ama nutrients apsana umuri wo apsana kwali ba uri umuri wo batira ati vitamin A mwali mona turotu bulungo to tupera abana no chira 6 months bala kuchipatala ba musenda turotu bulungo ero na bana chashiranga ba papa panu mayaku papa within 2 months kuraba kuwapera kwa vitamin A. So chidiana vyena kuti wafsanga mwisa bibatero bando ko batinga chaka twakanike yesabi panchite itali kukasuba ulio uwa vitamin A tula utachinshi nishtuaona ula waona ika wafuma mwisabi mulya ero panchite imo ine ero tuleipike yesabi tumuno ko bati tuipike yesabi lipie bwino tuipa yetu tushishi twingasango pantu utushishi tulasango mufi yakuli efili fyonse fino tulera ndanga twabika fe chakuli hapa utushishi ninjepo tuli socho tulefu wachaku monoko batira tuleipika mulandu tuleipikira 1 tulefu bati mino fuite chinshi inakeko ero cha number 2 tulefu kumonoko batinga muli ubusanso buli wonso lwabalanga tutushishi twingale to busanso buli wonse kumibiri Yesu tuche tunji tuipa yetulia but lero ya tuleipika twimone ko batinga twaipika ilia supu ulia mutole o tuleipikira pamone sabi tuiuta chinshi tuiwitira ya tuiposa tuperi abana pamulando wako bati mulamuine mulia emusungulikira
emwaisa nombe
umulio ulia kwali be milio ya pusana umulio ntututira ti water soluble vitamins ni alama vitamins yako bati yala sungulika mumenshi yero punch time ine pakuingira mukati aka mibiri Yesu yafire abamwisa mumenshi so firena vyena tatufeto aposa tumona ko bati twasungira abana makamaka abana bafire banu wako bati lero tuipera fe abana supu yeka tubapere kono muto ne minofu elio futi bachirondoro rapona pamisungire yesabi I think twala londrola
mkwaina batwalire
twala bokulondrola I think ife twinga sunge yesabi pamulando wako bati tatulefayo ko bati isabi tupeleko ubu afya pantunga chaka bati tulesunga mumsungire yesabi na mumsungire afya yakulya kuti mwalengo ko bati mwasunga mumusango mwa ko bati mbisa bili yaona ika lero ngali yaona ika fira kuti dale top sanso kwisa kumibiri Yesu atema kubumi bweso demona bale tupera ko
mkwai batale ba tumine fya mate pakutira ngato abwera mwala twalirira okulondolola bakomfa wesu mkwai muchiri mule kutika kuli program ya Fish for Food Security in Zambia Project Radio Show umotulera ndalelo mkwai pakukankala bwaba mukulya isabi nemidyo isangwa masabi ayalekanalekana ilio tulemi namate mkwai tule umfwa kukabwangalo okufuma kubalumendo n'abakashana ba D4G abana bo bale tufunda pafyo twingala ikala n'okulya ukubonfye sabi ngecha kulya
Bana popo.
Mkwai.
Mwisho tena tumone ko bana nani kani pali
tieni kale to mwene
mwana nalwala.
Balwala.
Bana bale lwali dida tena
batanda dile. Nefuna mwenta mwoneke na kuchitende.
Tena batanda dile ko.
Odi
mkono. Karibu mko ala. Mulishani bani.
No, mulishani.
Fino na mtu sanga.
Shile shuba.
Tapete bana fyo kolalo alira mfo bale lwaila tekishige.
Chabi bale lwala nshi.
Nayo kayo kulya balalia nomba katwishi.
Ishi.
Chabi.
Bibi ile mwe.
Wewe milile balalia muna chipecha bali bala buisha. Nomba Chikololo kwa msango shani uko kwini.
Kwacha mwatemu amakoko.
Mulele yako na amamesa.
Kuchi tuwashita shani barateke nkoko machi tuwaita shani tukaturekana nokulali enkoko.
At least mulele yako filangu imikwibiri mu mulungu. Abana pamulele yako esa. Era bale bana nani kale pala bali kwa tefishiba mupe bikefanye esa.
Papa bateke fibwapa.
Bali kwa tefishiba.
Barashika kirembo bushiku.
Bushana erisha tubarateka ponesa bi.
Bali kwata.
Mwashita kwesa byabana.
Bala yako dibili.
Eva fine.
Mwisa bimwali bama nutrients. Arenga na bongo yabana okukula bwino. Wasinkala bapera abana bakaledya dibili. Tabakala kwata na problem
munera. Bale monika abana bakala monika abalere ma.
Mulanda nutrients yesabi. Porridge yesabi.
Bala dika mwesabi.
Mbale first
abana balakula bwino.
Tekanya mukashana tekanya. Porridge yesabi.
Bala wole yesabi dine bali gaya.
Babika mulogo ngabasanga.
No mwene sayi bagaya kumonta bali paralo bagaya fuma uti mwali ka abana bafwa.
Bakofera tufira tutwa watu wakukapenta fira na pulana no bunga wasankanya fira abana balakula bwino.
Bansambishe fya kuratu amasaba shefe kuipika nokula kandi kube nokutwa.
Nga watati mkwani shokutwa. Bala sisanga shops ya kalamba.
Momwe baso se chinaini.
Fya pala langu ba shoplight.
Bala kwata ya porridge.
Ife mwalanda
mwatu afye. Mwatu afye kapenta ile mwayashita mwatu.
Awo mufe mwalanda mwaba maona rayo bashimwana kanshi.
Chinga fya kalero
Fyo mwana papene fe kumakokwa narabeba.
Kwa dividi abana mulebi kwesa bijya finesa bino tumusaro mulebi kapwesa bimulandu isabiri ali babwino kubana mwamfwa.
Awe kwena na umfa na totera.
Kwena.
Tsene kuchitente.
Kwa kuchitente
bashimwana bali panganda batureka tuli atu bashemwe ali shiba fe chuko changa
bali chimbadani kwa
Share bwino.
Kwa totera mwantu amwamomba.
Okay.
Kwa ifamwe.
Yo nachira mvufu mwashirara ndana bano bashira kukoseresha hapo.
Bachala ndati unamona fifufu balero alira abana nimbina bapuswamwa unanikani fimo mu mubiri sina barandati nte yapali bana nanikani badabate baba kwatama nanikani yesabi oponde yanshite kwesabiri mbone ko fuchala abamwe
nali mwene buli abushikupala bali bikati oisabi ati bali kwatefura fesabi
bashimwana imwe
ofonsha kwebere nangu nakuba tikashitesabi waliko tobunangani bwakupala esabi lyoso fwa fyabane bare pala
nomba nishito batekera pangana tekora bombe
pantu nali kwebere naruli ati isabiri ali babwino kubana tatusha abantu fubalero walirira because isabiri ali babwino tali kwatobeta mu Chingereza ati omega 3 irenga bongo ya muntu ukukula bwino no muntu kutontonganya bwino sana lero isabiri ali kwatano obukumu obusuma sana obulenga imibiri shabantu shirebe sharerema nokweba ati ifironda firapola bwangu muntu ngana ichena
so bashimwana cyonse fye mwarishe but namwisungira mwekene narekere skuru mu
uri wafitala nangu nakweba ati lero tushite shitako tu fresh fish yofu afya makoko amanama shira ndapo fyonsefi
wakugara nabantu abafisungwa aba munko
so apafo twala chita na futu fireve twambo kulima isabi pakuti abana bari biriri lero ri akocha mariro ri akwipika ngati ofa turesashira no kusashira karishi na tureitekera fwe bene na fifura
bachiranda potwa bano kusashira isabi numwe bayisa gwino
so isabi lyali wama litakusha abana imibishe munekesha rerema nemishishukura ku murandu wako bati ubukumo bwaba muisabi mwali wo bwachinda masana okushana mana maya muri ana makoko amari abatunge nyere tinoshita lero sabiriena lyali babwino sana pantu lifuma mumana lero ne fyakure dira lyafe ne fyani ukushira fimbi fifya shara
mumwe bara fimwalanda kashi naye mfike punde ya
so lero tamwe kuchitente tuli afe chapamo
na mkuchitesa bi kuchitente oko festi
okay wala sangale kantusheko
okay
bakomva wesu mukiri mule kutika kuli program ya Fish for Food Security in Zambia radio show iyo tule muleterako pamina base yalekanalekana apali wa Bangwela wa KFM radio yangeni edio na Luapula radio mkwaiba bakomva wesu mweba ingatemwa ukututumina amalamia na ngula utuma message ngafyafine tupela ama namba twapapata mwilalaba ukutwebeshina lyenu elyo nakuntu mule tumina mwatwebeshina uko mule tumina elyo nomba mwatwebeshi pusho chintu mkwete ama nambala ayo mwakula tumina po ni aya Airtel ni 077089 893633 0770 893633 ngamuli na MTN ni 076 77 80 043 076 77 80043 ayamkwai ema namba lapo mwingatutumina akasebo ka message nangula mwatumafie lamya chisima mkwai F.Chalula wesu mwachilalanda pakusungilira isavi mkwai kuti mwatwalirira
nachilafu afyo kulanda kufe panono but maybe limbi pamulandu wako bati ba doctor bachimyo yumulandu kuti natimako bati limbi leso mwine nabasokolera tubala chilondora ko munshila imo yako bati pantu ebene bachafati balandepo so kuti balandapo then I think nekuti na so kwa mepsho yan
Dr. Marinda. Yes, you talked of food safety measures that can be taken. If you could just explain in maybe a minute or so for our listeners.
Okay, so I think a lot of traders or even households are making effort to make sure that they store the fish for long periods of time, and they do not store the fish in proper in controlled environment. Some of the fish start growing fungi or mold, and so we've also done studies that have found that a fish has high contents of aflatoxin if not well stored. Yeah, so the whole make sure that you store the fish in an airy container. So if you use drying as a method of preservation, then just dry your fish completely and then keep it in a dry place so that it doesn't get molds, because then you're likely to get contaminated fish. And then the traders that sometimes apply some oil on the fish. We do not know the source of this oil or where it comes from, and sometimes of these, whatever they apply on the fish to make it shiny, may not be very healthy. Yeah, so although this is just in an effort for them maybe to keep the fish looking good, but they should also bear in mind that they need to ensure that they're selling safe fish to their consumers. And I would like also to just urge people that are dumping waste into the rivers and maybe lakes, because some of the fish has been found to have high mercury levels, and mercury is not good especially for humans. And so some fish have been found to have high mercury and heavy metals, and so it's important that probably the government takes measures to control the dumping of waste in rivers and lakes, so that the fish that we are consuming is not contaminated with these very high metals. So as much as fish is a healthy food loaded with many macro and micronutrients, but if you are eating contaminated fish, then it's unhealthy for humans.
Thank you.
Okay, so naralondora I think muchibemba mumashiwife nono ukonkana nefyo wa Dr. Marinda bachiba barondora nombali. Necha number 1. Imisungire yesabi kuti alengo kwe batu 1 twasekeramo ero punch time inenga chabata tusungire bwino yesabi kutwakwatira mu bwafya. Isabi tatufe tu alisunga mumusango umo ule wakwe bati limbiliamba no kufufuma. I think modi ntubacharanda lya fufuma lyanga yakwati isabi lya fufuma fidia nombani nshikuti fyare to busanso mukataka mibiri shesu. Ina malole ya Chipepo ya makansa nefi ashala. Ero punch time ine kwali babantu bamobali abana market abafuaya okutusekesha okupitira mufyo tulemo na amenzo.
Bali none kesa bimukwa inga dyalimo nga dyatiri lichitena nikane lenguna lebenga shima so fidia na fidia kuti twaba abakusakamana sana panta tuishibenga chako bati balebo mpya nga mafuta nshantu balebo mpya ichona chene cho chintu chimu chakwa divini nafove bantu balefo kuchitesabe tatufe tulesa kamana tuila mona fya to pantu isabilire nguna mumenso then tuchitelisa panta tuishibenga babo mpya ero apa ukuchira no kuchira pomkwai ichintu na chimbe tude cho tulekoseresha ko makamanga kuba nensu balaba ikala mu nchende mulo musangwa imimana ero na Bemba
kuti twakotemo kukoseresha apo kwebati twilapose fintu ifishiene mumimana shirya pantu nga tule chitecho tatuishi benefi twalaposa mupantu isa bilingirine linga talikwete fyakulya lilaisa mukulya filafine fyakula vintu tule filafine fintu tule posa mwisa mumimana ukonga nefu bachirondoro batira heavy metals inecho ningalanda kufucha kumonoko batinga batira heavy metals mukwai nichiriya icho esabili ali echo talifira okulya ichingaleto obusanso kwisa kuisabiline ero punch time ine na febe ne febe aleria lili esabi pan file fintu fira sangwa mwisabi ero balando ko bati ukonkana nefe ba change ntano kusangwa basangwa ko bati abantu fira bale posa fira fimbi mwisabi fira sangwa mo sana
mkwai
fyare to busanso
fafine mulelanda F.Chalula fwebe kala kumumana to alimonanga mwatumbulesa bimwasanga mo fintu fishiringire okubamo
sana mkwai so ifie tulelanda po kwebati tuisunge nalimwenepo I think abanensu kulya ku Ministry of ababomfi banandi Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock and Fisheries balilemba po Chipampa chimo I think kwati ngamuleya kulya kukabuta kulya kuncherenge nakusamvya kuyinena mu nchende shale kana balilemba po Chipampa chisuma sana bapika pone picture chesapi batira timundie bwino lelo mwindofya isabi turasekera mo sana ngoteli isabi ilo konga nefu twalondoro lapano twalondoro ko bati isabi echakulya fye ichi chakwata wafya ne lyobumo twatira ko bati it's one of the safest source of proteins so nero tulesekera mu isabi na tukwata responsibility ate mo na tukwata na ifo mulimo ukalamba sana lila tulelia tumuno ko bati tulebwekeshamo tuleyafwa tulesunga bwino emimana tulesunga bwino nababemba besu no tukula posa mwe fintu fishiene amabotolo kuya mukusamfya mwe busali na ma plastic ifinge mwa ma plastic tafiona ika noko na ikafide so tumuno ko bati twakwata responsibility pantu ngabatira obuteko ni mwebo na ine bonze na tukwata umulimo ukalamba sana uwakusunge firengo na lesa na ifintu na fimbi fedesa atupera ifo tusekeramu mkwai aba bakonfa weso abenguti batira mwalanda sana pa pesa bilyamu mimana bushe kulya abateka shibesabi F.Chalula weso bushe kuti twatira bushe esabiryamu fishi bafye irishiri lyamu menshi mumimana nalyo line bushe lyali kwatafye umulyo umawine kwati nili line lya kumimana okay na totela ichalale ngokwe bati isabiri kwate omulyo nangwatemu ekiri mwanga mwalima amataba ichalale ngokwe bati amataba yakwate bwino omulyo chinji mushiri teofine mushiri nga chako bati muri omulyo muri fertilizer muri na fimbi ni shifira fyalale ngokwe bati chite chakula chalaba bwino nesabiri neri ntutuleteka munanikane mu ma fish ponds na mumimana ngachakwati na tulilisha afye bwino fye na tulipelefo lilefwa ikokulya kuti lyakwata umulyo pamongesa bife ilinga bafe lyonse ichileka biro chakumuno ko batwakwata obwishibiro batusambirisa bali abanensu aba ku fisheries chef yakulya nche fotu tuleposa mwisabi mulya noti kulasungesa byatolika kulafye na lesa pantu dili mumenshi kuti lyakula mumenshi pantu amenshi emo yali ninganda fili yesabi but lero sabi le fa ikokulye ifyakulye fyalekana so tubike mwe fyakulya fili ifyala lengo ko bati sabi lera chitanani kanira kwata umulyo ngamusango ko bati sabi talikwe tomulyo ni pamulando ako bati tamwati pele fyakula chimofe nengo ko ishinyo tutulete keshi inkoko shamu mushina shana tushakula ngachakwa tuleshipera ifyakulye fingi mu levero futi fyalekana
kwa ito atashanga nshi sisi venga oma Chipepo na mkwato twakulunda pointa yesu kwena ile butuka
but Dr. Marinda will maybe close with you. He's from talking about the fish in ponds, Mr. F.Chalula. Yes. So what advantage can you say is in having ponds for our farmers? If they have their own ponds, what advantage is there instead of just relying on the rivers? Yes.
Okay, so I would say that when a farmer has a fish pond, they're likely to consume fish from their own pond other than going to the market to buy the fish. So that is a plan, and of course they know what kind of food they're feeding the fish on, so they are sure of the of consuming maybe fish that is not contaminated. And second, it's a source of income for the family as well, so they can sell the best fish and earn some income for the household. And I would like also just to add that the studies have shown that tilapia, that is matuku,
Yes.
is it? Yeah, that is farmed, that is from aquaculture, has been found to have higher fat content than wild tilapia. So that is one advantage of eating the farmed amatuku. So I would like to encourage the farmers to embrace aquaculture and just for their own home consumption of fish, but also for income generation for the household.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I think you can nefe balondolo lafye nimukutira ati abantu bakwete ma fish ponds chile people ko bati one bala kwatesa bipanchite bale fo irapo na nguli chibindo bena nchina bakwatesa fish ban no fish ban isabe quality ero punch time ine bala kwata no bukumo indarama shobenga bomfya kufye ntufya rekana ero punch time ine na chimbe I think point yona balanda po na chafa no kulanda na chila bikirwa kofi ni point yako mono ko bati mu ma fish ponds balando ko bati lilesabilizanga mu fish pond ila kwatapo fat content atemwa mafuta ero mafuta ayakwata ubuafya mafuta wetati polyunsaturated fats yara mafuta yashinga kwata ubuafya ubulibonse ku mubiri wa muntu so yali kwatapo ayenge amafuta ukuchirali lesabilisangwa mwisa muri babemba no mulandu wakwe bati titwachita decide ilingirine pantu foba kwete control ni the moto ala bika mufile fyakulya the more isabili ala akula ero food punch time ine nesabili ala kwata nani kane umulio so not kwata insta ero food punch time ine chileka biloko bati twakoselesha abantu abengi sana kuyamwisa mu kutekesha kwesabi pamulandu wakwe bati na mumona I think icharo chesu natu ya turefula fwe bantu ero nesa bidale sanga muri Bemba talide kwanisha ukutukumanisha bonse so dile chepa chile pibulo ko bati nomba turefuaya abantu abengengira mwisa muri fish farming pamonga fwe mama nutritionist fwe chetuleka bira chako monoko bati tukwatesa biringi sana pantu ifo twakoselesha abantu kuliesabi ukulidia sana okuchira munna muchipimo pantu takwa bo bwafyo bwesabili akwata
bakonfa wesu inshita yesu twachipelwa epo yapwira lero mwilabo kuti muno mu studio twachikwata ba mama Chipepo pili ukufuma ku GIZ ba mama Mwangala Kabika na wabene okufuma ku GIZ ile twachikwata ba Dr. Pamela Marinda ba senior lecturer kufuma ku Department of Food Science and Nutrition School of Agricultural Sciences, University of Zambia. Ile twachikwata na ba provincial nutritionist ba F.Chalula umuno mwine mu Mansa. Na ineni ne Kunda Londa ifwe bonse tuletira shale nipo mkwai. Bemba byesabi byakwirwa lelo. Moneni
mwapwisha afye okumfa kuli program iyesabi ngechakule chakuchimfisha kwensala elio nemidile isuma abachimpeka nishako niba Fish for Food pamona ba Food and Nutrition Enhanced Resilience sponsor ama project aangalirwa nakabungwe ka GIZ mukutungilirwa nechiputulwa cha buteko bwa German icha Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development. Kabiri bale bombera pamona ba National Food and Nutrition Commission, Department of Fisheries na Inchanshi Shimbi. Muikalaba okukutika kuli program pamila baseyali kanalekana muri program ikakonkapo. Ibukisheni okuchimfya nsala muri mwenu.
Yango amakwevo yesabi ninchitosana.